Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Let's talk about Finn for a minute in that dive bar. And I'm gonna be honest, this scene with him and this bar chick, whatever her name is, that they didn't actually say, it was kind of an uncomfortable scene, okay? Because this guy clearly looked like he was drowning his sorrows, right? You can look in his eyes. And you can tell he's been like crying or whatever, it looked like for days. And he's telling this chick this story about how he was, at one point doing a whole doctor's out borders thing. And she is just trying to hit on this man every chance that she gets. And it's just so uncomfortable to watch, right? At the same time, you got Jake and his friends going to this bar, um, talking about, getting drinks or whatever and fake IDs and everything. And at some point, Jake turns around and sees Finn, and he's just like, oh, yo, I got to get out of here. But, his friends is like, we already got here and everything like that. We got the money, let's just go and get some drinks or whatever. So one of the guys, I guess he had the fake ID, goes and gets a drink, comes back and he tastes it, and he looks like he's about to throw up, right? I'm going to be honest, Bear is not really apple cider, I think. No, Angry Orchard is probably the only one, as far as beer is concerned, that I can sit there and do. More of a liquor and wine kind of guy, but anyway, Jake is not there looking at this thing, and he's just like, he's kind of pissed off because you can see that this woman is like touching on him and everything like that, and he wants to sit there and confront him, but his friend's like, "Yo, listen, don't do this because like you're gonna get in trouble, you're gonna get us in trouble. Handle that somewhere else, pretty much." So he goes to the hospital and he sees Liz. He sees Liz, which is I think it's like 40 something minutes into the episode. And of course he tells her, "Hey, listen, we're about to go to the movies and we kind of walk past this bar," which he didn't actually go in the bar. I mean, he did go in the bar, but he didn't say that. Now, the only thing that was kind of wild to me was after he was saying, yeah, and he was with some woman and he kind of walked out, with her. I'm sorry to sit there and tell you that. Is that after he leaves, or after she leaves, he clearly calls Jason because you can see it in the previews. But my whole thing is, didn't you leave your cell phone at the bar? So how is it that you actually had it to call Jason in the first place? Which, by the way, I'm just gonna sit there and say it was funny how he was not to act like a dick to him at one point, but he had no problem calling him when he needed something. So yeah, okay. Plus, he had the audacity to sit there and come at Danny about the whole vaping thing, and yet you're going to a dive bar to drink. Yeah, okay, sure. Let those things sink in for a hot minute. But they're drinking and everything, and he decides to take a bottle back to his place. She's all like, "Oh, let's get out of here. Let's go somewhere else or whatever." He goes back to his place, and he sees his dad's clothes and stuff. Just he didn't really finish packing it. And again, every time I sit there and I see that scene, it kind of gets to me a little bit. But um, so he starts crying. Right, he starts really tearing up and everything. And this chick sees him upset, and she knows this guy's kind of inebriated. He seems like he's kind of vulnerable, and she just acts like just the. I don't want to say the worst POS, but you can clearly see that she's taking advantage of him. Liz goes to his place and is about to knock on his door, which would have been the smart and right thing to do. Instead, she decides to use her key and just walk on in and sees those two making out. She is pissed. Okay? She is Listen, I can sit there and speak for the male species. Um, when a woman gives us that look, serious, okay? That means that shit is about to go down. Like that is that is a look that yeah, we definitely pay attention to that. It's definitely go time at that point. So yeah, that's gonna be crazy. And of course, in the preview, you see Jason there. Anyway, then we get back to no. Before we get back to that jumble mess, which is kind of a jumble mess in a sense, we got Chase and we got Brooklyn strategizing on how to help Finn. And you know, Chase is he's worried about Finn, but he's also angry at Finn. He's disappointed at Finn, and that's a very complicated feeling. And on the outside, I can see somebody sitting there looking at that and being like, "You shouldn't be angry at him. You should have compassion for him. You shouldn't be judging him. You should be, you know." Like I can see some people being upset with Chase for judging Finn, but not to really kind of get into my personal life. I get it. I get it. You don't want to be angry and you feel bad for being angry, but I think it's because you love that person so much that you want them to do better. So it makes you feel guilty for being angry, but it's also one of those things where you can't help it. And then you talk about how they got to sit there and try to protect Violet. And, Brooklyn's like, maybe we could sit there and take her away to go to France or Italy or whatever, just to kind of say something to get his mind off of it. But they decide to maybe have Violet spend a couple of days at the Quartermains or whatever, just to kind of, have Chase, after he calms down, try to talk to him, try to talk to Finn rationally, so this way he can get some help. Um, Probably one of the very few times I can actually sit there and say that I did like the Chase and Brooklyn scenes because most of the times it's Brooklyn and Chase. I don't really have to say much more, but that particular one I generally liked. Um, and this is where we get into the somewhat whatever this was supposed to be, right? So I'm not even going to bother to try to tell this in some sort of order because I mean, hell, they made this seem jumbled as possible. Why should I try to do my best to try to fix it? There's a point where Gio runs into Trina and they get to talking. They talk about Sunny, and Gio's like, well, because Trina's like, Josh don't like Sunny or whatever, really despises him. He's a bad man and everything. But Gio's like, my family think he's practically gold. He's always looked out for me. And when she said that Sunny was awful, the look in his face, I thought he was actually going to get like really mad or like really defensive or whatever, but he didn't. But it does get to a point where he's like, "So what happened yesterday? Because you had that look in your face." I was like, "Did I do something or anything like that?" But she's like, "You reminded me of somebody I used to know." Obviously, it's Spencer. Now, I don't see it. When I was in my live stream yesterday, people were just saying they saw it a little bit. I still don't see it personally, but whatever. Um, but after she says that and she says that he died, she kind of just walks off and eventually Jocelyn finds her and she's like, let me just kind of just chill. Let me just go home. I just kind of just want to be by myself. Later, Jocelyn, Dax talk about how, like they really feel bad for Trina and she's really going through it and grief is a tough process. It would probably also help if she actually talked to someone like a therapist, but here we are. So yeah, but then Dex was like, listen, given what happened to Spencer, time is short. So let's do something about that. Let's go to dinner. Because there's a point where Trina is like, yeah, I can see that they still love each other even though they're not together. They kind of want to get back together. They kind of want to patch things up. And bottom line is Trina's like, yo, these two people are exhausting. Um, and while that's going on, you got Nina seeming like she's having a better relationship with Willow. You know, Willow and Drew are talking about, I don't know, their kids swimming and Wiley swimming and wants to be a Navy SEAL or something like that. Honestly, to tell you the truth, the conversation seemed like it was just a very pointless conversation, to be honest. Until Nina gets there, which, by the way, she was actually looking on point today. But she gets there, they get to talking, and Drew, because after Wiley gets out the pool, he smells like chlorine, and Drew's like, "Oh yeah, Nina, don't you have like some sort of cream or whatever, that like kind of helps with the smell of like chlorine or whatever? Like it was featured in like Crimson or something like that, right? Just to kind of help facilitate the conversation or help make the conversation better or whatever." Which they do actually wind up having a very pleasant conversation. Listen, compare it to like 2 months ago when they had their anniversary, and for some odd reason, Michael and Willow decided to go to the Metro Court where they knew Nina was working at, and it was very nasty and contentious, which was stupid on their part, and I'm going to stand by that. But compare that to what they're having now, it's a lot better. Hell, even in the previews, she's like, well, if Nina and Drew could sit there and kind of, drop their animosity, then, maybe I could sit there and try it too. Of course, we know that that's going to probably start to come crashing down when she realizes that the only reason why they're actually having so much of a good connection is because Drew is helping Nina along in exchange for, um, I don't know what they're actually in exchange for at this point, but I don't know how she's going to take it. I don't know if she's going to be like super judgmental and be like, oh, you were just not there trying to worm your way back into me and manipulating me and blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, uh, Nina, I think you need to give up on this one. Why don't you go and just visit Sasha at this point? Um, I think that's about it. The pool scene was nice, but a lot of stuff just is kind of just jumbled up. And there's a point where Drew, I mean, where Dex, which by the way is like fully healed now, is talking to Gio about sports and everything, and then it just kind of just like I don't know, it's like everything just gets kind of jumbled up a little bit. So it's like the scene is nice, but it also becomes kind of a mess a little bit because everyone is just kind of like at that particular part. It's not a bad scene, but when you're sitting there trying to describe it, it's like I feel like you just miss so much. I think that's the general sense of the episode. I might have forgot about maybe one or two things, but that's the general gist of it. Now tonight is going to be the Emmys. So I'm probably going to be watching that. If anything, and I'm not to saying it's 100%, I'm going to try to stream after the Emmys, which is at looking at Scott Baldwin, or the guy who plays Ken Schreiner, is talking about he got a text from Liesel or whatever. Anyway, the point I was trying to make is I may want up streaming tonight. But I decided I was gonna just watch the Emmys. I was like, listen, if I do stream, it'll be at 10 o'clock. I will put out a post, letting people know if I'm gonna wind up streaming tonight because I do gotta work in the morning. So if anything, I just want to stream for like an hour. But I will keep people posted. So just check the community tab, like around like 7:30 or whatever, and I will let people know. And with that being said, I'm gonna go. I'll see you in the next video, and if anything, hopefully next live stream.